Hello student, welcome back. In the previous video, that is part 1 of computer network, we have studied till components of data transmission. Now here we will cover types of data transmission. Okay. Now data transmissions are basically of two types. One is parallel and serial. Okay. Now serial is further divided into two types, that is synchronous and asynchronous. Now what are parallel data transmission? Now in this the communication takes place at the distance where the subunits are very short. Okay. Now in this you can see n bits of n wires are required for n bits of data transfer. Okay. That means you can see sender is there and each bit is occupying different wires, that is 8 bits are required for transmitting 8 bits of data. 8 separate wires are required for that. Okay. Next, what are the advantages of parallel transmission? It is speedy, okay, way of transmitting data, and then it is disadvantages. It is costly also, as it requires n lines to transmit n bits of data at the same time. Clear? Next, we have serial transmission. In this transferring of data takes place between two physically separate devices, especially if the separation is more than few kilometers, okay, for reasons of its cost. Okay. Now in serial transmission the various bits of data are transmitted serially one after the other. It requires only one communication line rather than n lines to transmit data. Okay. Now what are its advantages? Advantage of serial transmission is it uses single communication line, so therefore there is a reduction in transmission line cost. Then its disadvantages, its use of conversion device as source and destination and may lead to increase in overall transmission cost, and the method is slower as compared to parallel communication or transmission. Okay. Next we have types of serial transmission. There are two types of serial transmission, synchronous and asynchronous, and they both uses bit synchronization. Okay. This technology is used. What is bit synchronization? It is a function that is required to determine when the beginning and end of the transmission occurs. Okay. Now this bit synchronous, how it helps? It helps the receiving computer to know when the data begin and end during a transmission. Therefore bit synchronization provides timing control. Now we move on to asynchronous transmission. It sends only one character at a time, where a character is either a letter or the alphabet or a mix of all. Okay. And bit synchronization between two devices is made possible using start bit and stop bit. Start bit indicates the beginning of the data, that is it alerts the receiver to the arrival of new group of bits. Okay. And start bit usually uses 0 at the beginning of each byte. Okay. And then we come to stop bit. Stop bit indicates the end of the data, that is to let the receiver know the byte is finished. One more or more additional bits are appended at the end of the byte. These bits usually are called stop bit. You can see here start bit is there and stop bit is here, that is the beginning and end of the data. Now where this asynchronous transmission is applied, it is suitable for keyboard type terminals and paper tape devices. Okay. Now you can see the diagram of it. You can see each bit by data is separated. Okay. There is a separation in each. Then advantages of asynchronous data type, that is transmission. This method of data transmission is cheaper in cost as compared to synchronous. Okay. If the lines are short, asynchronous transmission is better because line cost would be low and idle time will not be expensive. In this approach, each individual character is complete in itself. Okay. So if the character is corrupted during the transmission, its successor and predecessor character will not be affected. Next is, it is possible to transmit signals from source having different bit rates. The transmission can start as soon as the data byte to be transmitted become available. Okay. And what are its disadvantages? This method is less efficient and slower than synchronous transmission due to the overhead of extra bit and insertion gaps into the bit stream. Successful transmission is depends on the recognition of the start bit and stop bit, and these bits can be missed or corrupted on its way. Synchronous transmission. Now in this what happened, it does not use start and stop bit. In this method, bit stream is combined into longer frame that may contain multiple bytes. There is no gap between the various bytes in the data stream. Okay. Next we have, in the absence of start bit and stop bit, bit synchronization is established between sender and receiver by timing of the transmission of each bit. Okay. Now what are its application? It is applicable for high speed communication between computers. Okay. Now what are its advantages? Advantages are, this method is faster as compared to asynchronous and there are no extra bits required, and disadvantage is that it is costly as compared to asynchronous method. Okay. And then the sender and receiver have to operate at the same clock frequency. Okay. This requires proper synchronization to make the system complicated. Okay. Next we have transmission media. Transmission media is the cable or wire that is being used for data transmission, like LAN. In this, many different types of media are used, like copper conductors in the form of twisted pair or coaxial cable. So there are various types of transmission media. One is twisted pair cable, and this wire is there and is being twisted. Okay, and then they are twisted around each other. An advantage of twisted pair cable is it is simple, easy to install, physically flexible, has low weight, can be easily connected, and very expensive also. Disadvantages are, because of its high attenuation, it is incapable of carrying signal over long distance without the use of repeaters. It is low bandwidth capabilities make it unsuitable for broadband application. It is very well suitable for limited area network only. Okay, now it supports maximum data rate 1 Mbps without conditioning and 10 Mbps with conditioning. Okay, now types of twisted pair cable, there are two types. One is unshielded twisted pair and the other one is shielded twisted pair cable, UTP and STP. UTP cables have maximum segment length of 100 meters and STP, they have the maximum length of 100 meters, and the advantage of STP over UTP is that it offers greater protection from interference and crosstalk due to shielding. Okay, but it is heavier and costlier than UTP and requires proper grounding at both ends. Then we have coaxial cable. Basically these type of wires are found in TVs. This type of cable consists of solid wire surrounded by one or more wire foil or wire sheet. Okay, each separated by some kind of plastic insulators. Okay, and the inner core carries the signal. You can see this is the inner core that carries the signals. Okay, what are its advantages? Advantage are that data transmission characteristics of coaxial cable are considerably better than twisted pair cable. It can be used as the basis to share cable network. Coaxial cables can be used for broadband transmission, that is several channels can be transmitted simultaneously, and it offers higher bandwidth up to 400 Mbps. Okay, and disadvantages are what? Expensive compared to twisted pair cable, and they are not compatible with twisted pair cable. Types are what? Thicknet and thinnet. Types of coaxial cable, thicknet and thinnet. In this, the cable is thicker than thinnet. Okay, and it can hold up to 500 meters long for data transmission. Thinnet is the form of coaxial cable and it is thinner and it can have maximum segment length of 185 meters. Then we have optical fibers. In this, glass or glass-like materials are used. Okay, and in this what transmits? The light emitting diodes or laser diode transmits. Okay, these are highly fragile type of wire. It is immune to electrical and magnetic interference. These are advantages. Okay, it is highly suitable for the harsh industrial environment. It guarantees secure transmission and has a very high transmission capacity. Fiber optic cables can be used for broadband transmission. Fine. And what are its disadvantages? Its installation charges are very high. It is also problem that fiber cables are quite fragile and may need special care to make them sufficiently robust. Then connecting either two fibers together or a light source to a fiber is difficult process. Okay, light can be reached and receiver off phase. Then connection losses are common problems. Then fiber optic cables are more difficult to solder and they are also very expensive than all other cables. Now types of fiber cable: single node and multi node. Single node supports segment length of up to 2 kilometers and bandwidth of up to 100 Mbps. Okay, and multi node with a segment of length of 100 kilometers and bandwidth of 2 Gbps. So you can see the all comparison chart is made of among all the cables. Next we will be covering this microwave in our part 3 video. Thanks children.